Hello there, UEEC10 students. This is a very quick video for you to support the writing skills and writing practice lessons in Unit 4. Health is the topic, and this video is about synthesizing sources, putting different bits of information together to add greater strength to your supporting evidence. All right, let's get started. For the ocean plastic pollution essay, you are given 5 sources to use. So step 1, read these and assign the information. Where in the essay do you think you could use the information? That doesn't mean you have to use it, but just think about where it could go. It's not necessary to read in absolute detail or understand every word. You just need to be able to identify data that you can use to support your ideas in the following sections or stages. So, 1, the problem analysis section. It could be the causes or the explanation stage. How did the problem happen? Or the effect stage. What bad thing happens as a result of the problem? And the other section is the solution section. Select solution 1 or 2. Could be the explanation of solution stage. What is it? How will it work? Or the limitations. What kind of difficulties are there with this solution? Or to talk about the benefit of the solution. And when you do this, it should not only be it will reduce ocean plastic pollution. That's why you are thinking about it as a solution in the first place. So that's not new information. Anyway, for this PowerPoint, yellow highlighting means causes, blue highlighting means effects, and pink highlighting means solutions. So let's have a look at those 5 sources and just try to assign the information. Okay, looking quickly at this, for me, I think plastics make up 80 to 85% of marine litter. That's like explanation or causes. A major threat to marine and coastal biodiversity, effects. The costs to the EU economy, effects. And all of this here looks very much like solutions to me. Okay, I think also we can look at this diagram and pick out a particular piece of information, the fact that single-use plastics is basically half of marine litter, and single-use plastics are mentioned a couple of times in this solution stage, so that's good to notice. We can probably use that later. Okay, source 2. All of this looks like causes to me. In fact, the whole thing could be causes, but down here, the waste management infrastructure improvements, well, that looks like it could be solutions. And this last part here, well, I think you could probably save that for your future statement, for the warning, maybe. You don't have to, but that's one place you could use it. Okay, let's have a look at, so the main idea here is waste management systems, especially on the coast. That's the main idea with source 2, as I see it. So for me, probably explanation and causes, and then maybe one little bit of it we could use in the solutions. All right, source 3. I think source 3 is clearly effects, the negative effects. So animals become entangled in large pieces of plastic, physical distress, even death. And then it says, but the main problem is, and then that's marine wildlife, mistaking micro and nanoplastics for food. And why is that a problem? Well, there's all this information here. But is that all necessary? Do you need to identify all that particular information? Maybe not. You can just say that it causes physical distress and even death. But I do think that this part is important. the overall effect on the marine life and ecosystems. Maybe we don't need all the individual bit of information, but we need the overall effect. And then this part, of course, the concerns for human health. Why? Because it gets in the seafood. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about for source 3. I think a lot of my effects are going to come from source 3. Effects on marine life and humans. Source 4 is interesting. Source 4, I think we can do a little bit of information synthesizing just with this one bit of information, because we've got 2 graphs telling us quite different things. Now the first one, how long till they're gone, talks about the estimated time to biodegrade. Now, even though fishing lines is the greatest amount of time, that doesn't seem to me to be a particularly large problem. But plastic bottles, 450 years, explanations and causes here, I think. Plastic bottles, 450 years, I think that's important. But on its own, it's not that important. It becomes much more important when we realise how many plastic bottles there are. 20,000 are bought per second. Okay. Put those 2 pieces of information together and we have something quite strong. And it's worth noticing this information about 50% collected for recycling. If we remember, we've looked at waste management as being a contributory factor, poor waste management, so maybe this can come into that. Okay, finally source 5. This all looks like solutions to me. Plastics that decompose relatively fast in the natural environment. Biodegradable plastics. We've got a lot of information here, but I think the overall idea is that biodegradable plastics reduce their environmental impact. Okay, so we've got information for every part of the essay. Now, step 2, once you've read all the sources and assigned the different bits of data, we need to synthesize. Now, you don't want to just list these source ideas in any order. Also, just one idea on its own is not very strong. One idea that then leads logically to the next idea is stronger, but for maximum punch, you want to put different ideas together from multiple sources, if possible, into one observation. How can you combine any of this information to create maximum punch for your ideas? Well, let's look at source 1 again, for example. So this, I think, is the big, if we're thinking about causes, explanations for the problem. Plastics make up 80 to 85% of marine litter. Half of those plastics are single-use plastics. Okay, that's already something that's quite strong. But a percentage of something doesn't really help us to understand the size of the problem. But if we put this information together with source 4, if you remember, there were 2 things here. There was the fact that plastic bottles take a really long time to biodegrade, and there are so many of them. 1 million bought every minute. Combine those 2 ideas. So about 85% of marine litter is plastic, half of it is single-use plastic. How big is the problem? 20,000 plastic bottles bought per second, and each bottle takes 450 years to degrade. Punch! That gives your supporting evidence much more power, much more strength than just identifying those ideas singly on their own. We could then logically move to source 2, because source 2 is, if you remember, about waste mismanagement, poor waste management, especially on the coast. So if we've got, there we go, yes, waste management systems, mismanaged coastal plastic waste, 31.9 million tonnes per year. So if we've got the first problem, the enormous quantity of plastic waste, and it's made worse by poor waste management, then once again, we've got great punch. We might want to remind the reader about this as well at this point. As an example of waste mismanagement, less than 50% of plastic bottles are collected for recycling. Only 7% are turned into new bottles. That could be a good example of not managing waste very well. Okay, so there you go. That's one example of how we can synthesize information from different sources to create a strong supporting sequence. So that's all from me. Bye bye. I hope this was useful. Yes, and good luck with the essay. Bye for now.